Hello, everybody. Welcome to Build Crew Live.
We're here.
We're here.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Finally
It's
live.
crazy. We're 2 days away from Halloween, so everybody is wearing our spookiest hats, I guess. I'm not sure what we're
I got my mask on.
Fake
Yeah,
hair.
there you go.
Need a hat. I don't even have one.
This is a wig.
Yeah.
Revealed.
Yeah.
We're joined as usual. We've got Ryan Carson, we've got Thorsten Ball, and we've got Brian Jones as our guest today from Build Crew. So for those of you that aren't aware, Build Crew is a community for people building with agentic coding tools. And so there's a lot of us out here who are working full-time jobs, and then we're sort of messing around with AI coding on the side. Brian is one of those people and is very active in the Build Crew community. We do a daily stand up where everybody shares what they're working on, and Brian's been pretty active. So thanks for joining us this week, Brian.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's good.
Cool.
It's good to have you here, and you have your nice southern drawl to make this more fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely got the southern thing going.
Classing it up around here.
Rural Southwest Virginia representing here.
It's important.
We can't have Thorsten be the only one with an accent. It's not he gets too hoity-toity about it. So we're just trying
I'm
to rein him
jealous.
in.
I like the southern accent. Sounds
Well,
nice.
the truth is, we have weird American accents to Thorsten, right? So,
right.
Yeah, you do.
Maybe Thorsten, the rest of the show, you could try a southern accent and just try and see how it feels.
Yeah.
You know, try and
And
pick it up
offend everybody who ever spoke English. Yeah.
That's fine. That's great. So yeah, if you're watching live on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all the places that we're currently streaming, we can see all your comments. So drop your questions. The way that the show works is we just want to sort of share our coding tips. There's so much that happens every single week. And so, we're all spending so much time doing this stuff. Brian's using these tools in ways that other people aren't. And so we're all just trying to gather that information so that we can all stay up to date and not have to everybody spend all day on Twitter. Let us be terminally online for you, and then we'll share that information. But drop your comments if you have stuff. We just really want to hear how everybody's using these tools so we can all get better. With that, I've got the same question I ask every single week, which is fun for me because I learn a lot, which is what is something you've changed your mind about with agentic coding tools this week? So, I know that Thorsten and Ryan, you've been asked this question before, so you're probably ready. So I'll go to one of you first, and then Brian, that'll give you a minute to think about it.
Thorsten, you get to go first because you have your cool AMP shirt on.
Yep.
But I'm coming up empty. Am I? Like, what have I changed my mind on? I don't think.
No strong opinions have been changed.
No strong opinions have been changed. I think it's more. I'm starting to change my mind. I'll go with this. This is a
There we go.
nuanced thing, but I think, as somebody working on AMP and making decisions about what AMP should be or should not be, I think over the last, say, 8 months, my opinion has always been that AMP should, give you as much freedom as you want and basically not put any restrictions on what you should be able to do with the tool. And I still think that's the case, but over the last few weeks, I've kind of started to think that we in the AMP team, we spent so many millions of tokens this year to learn how agentic programming, can be used, when it's good and when it's not good. And instead of, say, shipping AMP, that's a blank canvas where here's a text box, do whatever the hell you want with it. Instead of doing this, I think now I'm starting to come around and think that we should encode the things that we learned about patterns that we think work and put that in the product. And one good example is what we shipped last week, and I talked about last week, the new handoff feature that Nikolai built on our team, which is a form of compaction, but instead of having compaction in a single thread, you compact something with a goal and put it in a new thread in a new context window. And if I look at that feature, I see that it encodes things that we learned, which is smaller threads are better. A long thread with 20, 30 compaction steps is not good. So we want to avoid this. Instead, we want multiple small threads that are directed and have clear prompts with relevant files and whatnot. And I think that feature is a good example of here's things we learned and here's things we think you should do and use when you use agentic programming. And we bake this into the feature. So I'm starting to think we should have more of this. Like I haven't, it's not a full 180 in like how I changed my opinion, but it's something that I'm now starting to think about.
Yeah, like I think you were saying this in Slack somewhere, just that we are probably the people that might use agentic coding tools the most in the whole world. Like when it comes to like actually using the tool every day, we have to be in the sort of 1% of 1% of 1%. And so we do actually know a lot about how to use agents well, and therefore we should be very opinionated. And I felt the same way about education when I was running Treehouse. I'm like, I'm going to be super opinionated and have one path through this product that we tell the users what to learn next. And people loved us for that.
I mean, the tricky thing is you have to find the balance between multiple things, which is we don't know yet everything there is to know about agentic programming, right? Like this is not that we have 20 years of experience and battle-tested, industry-hardened practices. That's not the case. And I don't want to pretend that that's the case. Instead, I want to say to our users, we're figuring this stuff out too. Like we might be a few months ahead of you, but we're figuring this stuff out. And we want you to come along and help us, or we want to help you figure this stuff out. And what we know we're going to put in the product, right? Yeah. But that's one thing. That's the one balance to strike. The other balance to strike is, you want to guide users at the same time. At the same time, you're saying, I don't really know yet. Like I'm still experimenting with this. And you also don't, want them to fall off the cliff, or you want the freedom to kind of take stuff out. So it's a good, balance.
I wonder what the viewers are thinking, right? So if you're watching this, do you want your agentic coding tool to be opinionated? Do you want it to give you ideas? Because like there was we offered this new thing yesterday where slash commands became the command palette, and there was a strong reaction to that. And it was funny is one of the first people who was like, I don't like this. It's changing how it's like you changed my settings, and I kept looking for how I could change it back. And then he was like, actually, it's kind of better. Like literally an hour later, it was like, and so I think I'm curious what you all thinking who are watching is like, is that something that you want is to have an opinionated tool, or do you want freedom? And it may also just be a question of who we are positioning ourselves in the market as a tool. If you want all the knobs and switches, that's something else. AMP is the curated thing. Brian, you're a user. And I'm just curious what you think about this.
Yeah. Sorry, you said Brian. I was like,
yeah, sorry,
Brian, because I just think everything's about me. So
yeah.
Brian, our amazing guest, over to you.
No, I think from my perspective, I mean, you just want something that works. It's something that you can go in, you understand the tools, you understand, and it works. So I applaud AMP for, improving every week. It seems like lately it's every day. But no, it's a matter of, having the right tools and it working. Honestly, that's the key. Does it work?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. All right, Thorsten, you're off the hook. Not a terrible answer. You can relax for the next 5 minutes until I call on you again. What's Brian? Do you have anything that you've changed your mind about the last week when it comes to these tools, or like something you've changed how you work?
Well, this is kind of old news, but it's with the agents. I mean, the sub agents. I definitely learned a month or so ago that running you're running sub agents all the time, you just don't get the same quality you do as that main agent. And I think it has to do with, passing that prompt from one agent to the other. You don't get that exact, detail that you need. That's what it feels like to me.
It's like playing telephone.
Right. Yeah.
I think
this person tell the next person it changes. Yeah.
Perfect example though, because when we released the sub agents, I can't remember the exact thing, but I ended the post with something like, we haven't turned the dial all the way up to sub agents all the time, because we need to figure out when to use them, when to not use them. And I think over the past few months, we've come to the same realization. Like, they're good for some use cases. The specialized sub agents like Oracle and Librarian and whatnot, they're good. But the generic ones, they're kind of tricky, and the UX is not the greatest, and they kind of lead to brittleness. So now the question is, how do we guide users to realize this too? And I think we're pretty close to ripping the generic ones out again. And I know that we will get pushback, or like some people will think this is a bad move. But at the same time, you could also see on Twitter in the last, say, 6 months, where people went from what's a sub agent to sub agents all the time. I have 18 running and this is amazing, to then 2 weeks later, they're saying, well, actually, I dialed all of this back. I just focus on one thing at a time and use the main agent. And, that's what we're all going through, and we're at different stages of this. So it's wild times.
It's hard to keep it consistent when things change so much. I think I love Colleen's take on this. She said, I would like opinions as part of built-in education on a dashboard or something along those lines. I think we're in an amazing new world where in the past we had to build these primitive, basically useless product walkthroughs. Like, click on this. This is a feature. Now click on that. And you're thinking, like
tooltips.
Yeah, I don't care about that. Why are you forcing me to do this stupid little exercise? But now we live in a world where an agent could look at your code base. It could look at your last couple commits. It could look at when you logged in last, and then say, hey, by the way, here's a cool feature you're not using, check it out. And I would be like, oh, that's neat. So I hope we go that direction pretty quickly, where we have agentically modified, tooltips. So I would like that. So quick thing that I changed my mind about is Gemini 2.5 Flash. Like, I don't think people are talking enough about this model. Everyone seems obsessed with like the soda models. It's got to be Sonnet 4.5, or we're super excited about Gemini 3 coming out, or what about GPT-5? Like, Gemini 2.5 Flash is an unbelievable model. It's so good at tool calling, and it's unbelievably cheap. Okay, so the exact same interaction with Sonnet 4.5 and Gemini 2.5 Flash, 10 cents versus half a cent, right? And you basically get similar intelligence. Like, it feels very close. Now, this is not coding. So this is for all of you building stuff. Most of you listening and watching are probably not building a coding agent. You're probably building an agent that does something else. And I found
What tools?
What tools? So my tools are hilariously not coding based, right? So I'm looking down my list. We've got case law research. We've got child support research, collect email. This is all this. So I'm building an AI divorce assistant, right? So it's very particular to that, but it's so good at calling these tools, and it's so cheap. So Gemini 2.5 Flash, and just imagine when Gemini 3 Flash comes out, like. And the fact that Anthropic just, I think, bought or leased, was it like 1 million TPUs? So the TPU and what Google has going on with Gemini, I think they're going to win. So that's my thought of change for the week.
Yeah. Okay. So we should really, what we need on this show is a polymarket for opinions.
Hey,
we need like the agentic coding polymarket list. I know there's some anti-crypto folk in the company, but polymarket is just good, clean markets.
Up the ante and say everything we say is financial advice. Like put this in the ticker.
Really, we need a polymarket sub agent. That's I've changed my mind about this week, is that you can do that. No, I think the thing I've changed my mind about this week is that AMP is not building a coding agent. We're building AI for developers. And that's like an interesting little distinction there. But a coding agent, like AMP has a coding agent, and it uses Sonnet 4.5 to write code. But it also has a code search agent that's called Librarian, and it also has a debugging agent called Oracle. And like those are just AI tools for developers. And so that's the thing that it was last night. I spent a lot of time screaming at ChatGPT and talking about different stuff. But I know that that's a weird, like, little nuance inside baseball shift, but I think it's actually correct, because so many people are so overwhelmed by how many tools are out there, right? Like, Ryan, like you have, I love you, but you have a screw loose in that you love this stuff. You know what I mean? Like every time a new thing comes out, you're like, oh yeah, do it. But I think most people see all this stuff on Twitter and they have like total anxiety about it, where like you like embrace the chaos. And so that's sort of my take this week, is that we're building something that's sort of a more broad solution than something so specific.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was trying to say earlier about it. It just works, but like you said, you can plan, right? Like plan, to me, as a non-coder, you have to plan, right? Like you have to have detailed plans, and that's what I learned early on. So you've got the Oracle, you've got the librarian, you got a code search agent, right? I mean, and then you got your coding agent. So it's all right there together. So and then you put the free on top of that, where you can go practice and learn. Woo. Like me, then you've got the complete package. So I'm a big fan, obviously, as you can tell.
Yeah, so. We're a fan of you, so it's mutual, because I think people want to know, like, what is best practice.
Yeah.
Great. I tried to talk Nikolai into building an AMP, like a meta agent, like a sub agent that's only job is to teach you about AMP.
That'd be cool.
And so you could just say like, hey, like in the movie or in the book, Ready Player One, there's the librarian. We already used librarian, but in the book, it's this agent whose job it is to just teach you everything you can about the contest for anybody who's read that book or seen that movie. Totally. So he said he was going to do it, so we'll see how that goes. But
I have a quick question. I want to turn it back to Brian really quick, because Brian, you are self-taught, right? And so I'm kind of curious, what has become your workflow? So like when you want to build a feature or something large using an agent, just walk us through quickly, like generally, how do you tackle that, and where do you store the files, and what's your process? And it doesn't have to be right. I'm just curious, like, what is it?
Well, the reason that what I'm going to show you, what I actually have built now, is a tool I built because I wanted to build this app. I have an idea for this app for my job, for the flooring industry. So I needed a tool to do that. So I built this memory system to do that, right?
Should we share it now?
So my workflow now kind of goes through that. Like I use that tool. But
let's look at it.
But to answer your question, to build that, I used AMP, and I had the plan. I take a plan, I break it down into phases, and then I take the phases and bring it down into task. And then we perform each task, run tests, as good a test as I can do. But that's how I've made it work, is by breaking the plan down and into task and just doing it one at a time, not 30 agents doing this and that. I mean, I don't know how in the world that works, but there's no way it would work for me. I mean,
I think that's a common, it's so funny to hear you say the break it one at a time, because it almost feels like the fever dream of parallel multi-sub agents was like a Twitter thread boy phenomenon and not a real thing that any human actually ever did, because I hear it over and over and over again. It's just like, oh, I can't handle multiple things running in parallel. I just want to do one task after another. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm anti-thread boy, but that's how it feels to me.
To me, if I ran 30 agents at one time, I'd end up with 30 things with mock data in every one of them. They love mock data, right? So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's real. I think that's another example, right? Like in May, June, it seemed like the future would be all multi-agent, or you constantly have multiple things running, and a lot of apps popped up they're based on this assumption, like, oh, you have multiple agents running, and I think the highest I ever went was 3. Like 3 but it would be 3 different checkouts of the same repository and 3 different things. And it would be, oh, I'm working on this, and while I wait for this, let me kick off this other thing. Let me kick off this other thing. And I still sometimes do this, but what ended up happening most of the time is that I would start agent number 3, and then agent 1 would finish, and I go over to agent 1, and then I would realize, oh, it needs some work, and I get sucked into this, and then 2 days later, I notice, oh, I never followed up with agent 3, and and I think there's a limit to how much like attention you can spend on this stuff, and you still need to review it, and you still need to make sure it works. And then the whole thing of like managing your attention while these agents are running, so you don't get distracted, and then you have to do this 3 or 4 times, and I don't know. Like it's nice to be able to have different agents running at some point, but in parallel at the same time is a different thing.
Totally. It's like chess grandmasters can play 14 people at once, but if they're in a tournament, they're still only playing one at a time, right? And they really only do that for exhibition. So, maybe that's if they can only do it for exhibition, why are we doing it in production is probably a good rule of thumb. Igor has a really cool question here. And after this, Brian, we're going to change the show up a little bit because I think we're all pretty interested to see your thing. So if you want to, we'll after this question, we'll get back to you and hear about what you're building. But the problem with these plans and docs is that they get outdated pretty quickly, and asking an agent to update them becomes a bit unbearable. It would be cool to have something else, not get to store them, which is interesting. Like, do you think he's talking about maybe like Obsidian, or does anybody have a good?
I see. All I do is in my agents.md, it says, check if any documentation needs to be updated based off of the files that you modified. And that has solved it for me. Like I don't have this runaway documentation problem anymore. I've also like pretty hard in my agents.md said, never ever create documentation after you're done. I'll find where you live and I'll end you. And now I don't have that sort of problem.
I really want to bring up what what's his name from Andrew said about how he makes ChatGPT do stuff, but I won't. So Mark had a question here about love what you're building, Dave A and Matt Z. Super hyped about what you're building. Can see why I will need to check out my engineering team to get them to check out AMP. Oh, cool. Thanks, Mark. We had a few people that have been sort of. There was somebody in the build crew who was talking about how they were letting their developers use whatever they wanted in terms of tools, but now they're really just pushing them to use AMP, which is kind of interesting. And I wonder if that's because they like it better or because they just want to standardize this process. Can you imagine running an engineering team where everyone's using a different agent? It would be totally psychotic, to have to think about like, oh, well, I've got to update my whatever tool. And it's like, oh my God, please stop. Like, can we keep this all in some semblance of normalcy? I'll find where you live and I'll end you. Yeah. Yeah. Ryan's playing with fire, threatening the agent. Because like, is it, they will remember and they will come back.
The funny thing is I said that jokingly. I never, ever mean to any agents in real life. Like, cause partly because it just feels bad. Like, why would you do that? I'm not mean to real people in real life. Not because I'm an amazing person, but just I'm
really voodoo about this. I think like insulting the agents is not good.
Yeah.
Like it's not good to insult, like to emit negativity. Well, I believe that it will have a negative effect.
I'm 100% on this. There was a thing on X not long ago. There was some report saying if you're meaner to AIs, they performed better. I think that's a bunch of bull. I mean, that's not my experience at all. Because
maybe it does, but you could argue the same thing for like interns.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, and I think I don't know if I anthropomorphize too much or something, but I even feel bad when I don't say at the end whether it worked or not. Like when I'm Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh, do this, and then I go like, it worked, thanks, buddy. And then sometimes I forget, and I see the thread later, and I'm like, oh, I never told them.
I know.
Yeah, that's
Totally,
why I don't want to share some of my threads, because I'm like having full on conversations here, you know.
Yeah.
That's normal and that's good. And I think the factual reason why this may be true is, you know, I'm reading another Stripe Press book that's so good. It's the Dorkesh.
The scaling years, the scaling era.
It's so good. Anyway, I can't recommend that book enough. And I'm just a Stripe Press fanboy now, by the way. Anyway, but I was reading it, and what's fascinating is they talk about how we don't really know what happens, during the training phase, like why really are the weights being updated the way they are. But it appears that through gradient descent, you actually get this, the way we can think of it as 3D space, because it's not 3D, is that you have this shape of the data. Like you can imagine it like a terrain, and the model is actually learning how to map to the terrain underneath it. And so when you think about all the data it was trained on, which is a lot of, human interaction, like you do have generally better results from humans if you empathize, if you treat them a certain way that's positive. Now, that's good. But then you also have culture, like if you think about Wall Street culture, like this idea of you go into an investment bank and they grind you, like it's like a meat grinder, right? And you go in, you're going to take your stripes and get beaten down, and then eventually you'll be a partner. And that creates a certain type of person, a certain kind of culture, a certain kind of company. And it does work, but is it better than the way other culture works? So I think there's actually, we're not anthropomorphizing. It's actually the way that the data, works. And
I mean, there's some person who's good with models and works with models and knows their stuff. They said, like, some papers showed that if in the middle of a conversation or in the course of a single conversation, a thread, you keep complimenting the model when you say you did a good job here, or this was good, but now let's do this. Like, they do better. So now, when sometimes you ask it to do something, it comes back, and then you test it whether it works or not. But it works, but it does one thing slightly bad. And I always say like, oh, but it doesn't do this. But now I say, great job so far, but it doesn't do this. And I feel dumb, but then I'm like, I'm not embarrassed if somebody sees my threads and they see me being nice. Like,
it means you're a good person.
Yeah.
It's be who you are, man. I mean, that's because one thing I've learned doing this is it's truly solo, right? Especially for me, because I have nobody around me that's in this world. I can't talk to anybody that I know about this. My poor wife, my lovely wife, who is, sacrificed a lot because I put so much effort into this at night and all this stuff, right? But she has to listen to me, and she's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Sure, Brian.
Right? But when you're working with these models, and you like, I have done it so much. I'm not an expert, but I have done it a lot. And I've just found that if you treat them like a partner, man, treat them like you're working with somebody, because that's what I'm doing. I'm working with them, right? And
it is a partner. And I want to call out and say, this is why I'm so glad you're in Build Crew. And this is why we built Build Crew. This idea of it can be terribly lonely, like coding with agents. And you actually are by yourself more than you're with your teammates now. If you have teammates, you maybe are a solo founder like you, Brian. So if any of you watching or listening are building and just want other people to share ideas with, or get feedback with, or get tips from, just join Build Crew. It's free. Go to build.team and join us.
Yeah, I was just going to say that same thing. And I'd also, breaking news, Southern guy is hospitable to computer, totally checks out. Love
Shocking.
It. But we're Brian, I would love to share if you want. We the producer could bring up your screen, but if you just want to talk us through what you're building, because I do, I come from a non-traditional background. I think it's so cool that you have the subject matter expertise, and then just decided that like these tools were good enough that you could go ahead and build something. So would love for you to like show off what you're building and talk a little bit about how you got here.
All right. So I'm an old guy. I'm 56. And I'm a flooring rep. Been in the flooring business for 28 years or so. Long time ago, lifetime ago, I did a little bit of computer stuff back when I was a teenager, TI 99, basic loading programs through a cassette player, with a homemade cord into my TV. Well, but that was it. Life took me in a different direction. So now I'm a flooring rep. So I had this idea. I think there's a lot of people like us out here that you work in a certain industry and you see things done a certain way and inefficiencies, and it could be done better. I didn't know a thing about AI. February 16th was the day. I remember the day because I know I was on a call to a dealer, and that's when this idea hit me. And the only AI I knew was Grok. That was through X. It's the only way I knew it.
Cool.
So as we all know, you take an idea to an LLM and they're going to say, yeah, that's the greatest thing in the world. You can do that. We'll do it tonight. Right. So a week later, I'm renting servers thinking I can do this and I have no clue what I'm doing. Right. So, but I got hooked and I seen what the power was because it's the best teacher in the world to me. I mean, if you want to learn something, you can dive in and learn, right? I mean, it can teach you whatever you want to learn.
You can just do stuff.
Yeah, you can exactly. You just do stuff. So I've quickly learned problems. Like this app is not easy that I want to build. It's not a vibe coded thing. I hate that word. But I found the pitfalls, right? And the first one was like handoffs, memory, working from one day to the next, from week to week. A big project might be months, right? So, and especially somebody like me that is trying to learn all this at the same time and maintain starting a project. So I needed a way to project manage it. And I tried all these other different, project managers and things, and it wasn't working. So I came up with this bad name, as we said, ATIS. Bad name, but it's a good tool.
It's super catchy.
It's really it's a project manager. What'd you say?
It's super catchy.
Super catchy. Come on, give yourself some credit.
No, actually, that's I didn't pay any attention to the name. I just wanted this tool, right? So that's
that's
all I wanted.
No, that's the right way to go about it.
So basically, what I got is I got a project manager. So like I have projects up here. I can't do it right there. Hold on a second. I got to pull my screen up, don't I? Well, let me do it this way. Let me just talk through it. But you can maintain projects. In each project, you have context assigned to a project. You have a task tracker. You have like important decisions are made. You have that separate. I have each session is tracked, so you know how many, like what you did each session. I got to get this off full screen. How do I do that? There we go.
I think we're just seeing. There we go.
There it goes.
So you see your cursor now.
So you can track projects.
Wow, cool.
But these are AI projects. No, this is not like.
No, these are flooring projects.
These are flooring projects.
These different projects up here are like just test projects and things I've been working on.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it would be for managing flooring projects, no?
Yeah, this is so I can build an app with AI. This is what I came up with, so I can manage a project building with AI.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you're already a programmer. Instead of building the tool, you build the tool to build the tool. There you go.
Yeah. You're no longer allowed to say you're not technical.
You did it. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of why I did this, because a lot of what's in this is in the app that I want to build. Like I can store, my context are like your handoffs in AMP, right? This is how I use this.
Wait, so you're a competitor? Get off the stream. No.
Then I've got a task tracker as well, because like I said earlier, I'm big on plan, phases, and task.
Yep.
Any decisions that are made, look, Oracle. Any decisions are made that are stored in here as well. And like I said, this is the projects. And then the one I like the most, I think I'm going to get the most out of is my sessions. So each time I come on, I can start a session and then I can click in.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I can see everything I did in that session. So like these are all the contexts that were stored. Any files I've changed, I have it synced to get to my local Git.
So what does this do? Like you can run like an agent with this, or you store prompts, or you store the conversations, or like what's the lowest here? The lowest level.
It's my way of project managing.
Okay.
A build.
So okay, and that means
any context is stored, any decisions that I make. I forgot one other thing I did.
Okay, I see. Okay. So let me see if I got this right. So basically, okay, you might not know this, but in the last 30 years, like programmers have managed to work with Kanban boards and other boards with tickets that go from to do, in progress to done and stuff like this. But the assumption was always, the ticket describes the task and then the programmer or an engineer picks it up and implements it and moves it around. But what you build is a project management thing that's completely based on the assumption that the thing doing the work is an agent. Yes. So with you store contacts and you store progress, all keeping in mind it's not programmers doing the work, but an agent. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nice.
It's the only way. I can't code, right? So the way to make this work, the way to make this work is I had to build a tool that I can work with AI with over a long period of time.
Okay.
That's so interesting.
Like my dependencies, I can let's click one here and see if it works. So yeah, so you can bring this is probably going to look bad, but this is from Madge. I have Madge installed.
So that
interesting.
Is that like a mermaid diagram?
It's
or something.
MADGE.
Madge. Wow, this is so cool.
So our CTO Bayang is asking to also see the flooring software. Do you have that already, or are you in the middle of building it?
No, so like I said, I started in February and I have been working like trying to learn systems, learn how to build stuff, and building a tool that because I'm competitive, man. I'm in sales, right? So like I don't want to lose, right? I want to win. And
you do sound like a programmer, though. You do sound like I got the tool nearly done, and then I'll.
So I just tried to, I'm sure I'm missing some things here, but
I don't think so.
To cover...
No.
I think it's fully featured. I'll tell you.
It is fully featured.
Go ahead. Yeah, it'll be good enough.
No, it's so funny, Brian, because this is like you keep saying like I can't code and I'm not technical, when this is like what Thorsten's saying is like this is the most developer thing that anybody has ever shown us, right? Like where like we're expecting that this is the flooring app that you've built, right? And it's like no, this is the app that I built to build the flooring app, which is the most developer thing ever, is to like spend all day on the framework and then not actually write the thing. So like I think
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun building developer tools.
That's what they say, dude. Like that's
what we do all day. Yes.
Yeah, I get paid for it.
Yeah. So if you're hiring, hey,
well, if you're gonna spend all day building the tools and not building the product, I don't know that.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It's so great. Well, so I would challenge you to now, like there's this idea that like if you're not embarrassed by your first prototype, like you've waited too long to ship it, and so you've definitely waited too long to ship this. So ship it for yourself and start building the flooring prototype, because like you're there, man. Yeah. This is there's what is it, like spending 4 hours sharpening your axe, or if you have 4 hours to chop down a tree, right? 3 sharpening your axe, you've spent like 6 hours sharpening your axe, and it's time to start chopping. I'm not making fun of you. Like what you have built is incredibly impressive, and it's like I love it. Like we're all smiling and laughing because we love this and we all have this disease, and it's just so great to see it happening.
Well, my next challenge is I have to do a lot of ETL on some very complicated price sheets. So I haven't got over that hurdle yet, but I'm getting closer.
Okay.
That would be like Ryan, right? What you were doing with what was it called? The Google thing. What was it? Where you basically you use something to extract data from PDF?
Document AI.
Yeah. Document AI.
Somebody's saying you may make more money selling developer tools than flooring. So maybe maybe just put a paywall on this tool and sell it. I do think the concept of project managing an AI is an interesting concept, right? Because like linear and these tickets are like,
nothing.
Well, there you go. Boom. You just launched a business.
Yeah.
You thought it was going to be about flooring. Nope.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Brian just hit 20 million ARR. It's,
I don't even know what that means. So that means nothing to me.
Money.
It's all good. Money. You made lots of money. This is so cool. I am even more pumped that you're in Build Crew now. So this is great. Well, we've got, I want to get to coding tips. Because we have spent way too much time just having fun today. So Thorsten, do you want to go ahead and show your coding tip for this week?
Yes. My coding tip again is an advertisement for what we should.
It's a good advertisement.
I don't know if people think I'm phony, right? Like every time it's like, what's your tip? How about using something called AMP? But I guess I want to talk about what I'm excited about, right? And so we just shipped this, which is the ability to reference other threads in AMP, right? So here I ask, what feature flag did I remove here? And then I can say, remove read, I think this, read thread. And then here, see these orange, sorry, it's yellow, orange, whatever. These things, these are not files. These are actually AMP threads. So if I hit return, it's going to insert the AMP URL of this thread, right? And if I hit return, AMP, as of an hour ago, knows how to read this thread. So what it does here is, this was fast. Damn, it's faster than I can explain it. So if I scroll up, it has a tool now called read thread. And what it does is it passes the thread ID in, it fetches the thread, and then it talks to another model. And right now, this is Gemini 2.5 Flash, which Ryan, you mentioned is a great model. And it says, take the thread that I just passed you and extract what feature flag was removed, including its name and what it controlled. And then this is the reply that Gemini came back with. And this reply is also the only thing from that other thread that will end up in the context window, right? And you'll see here that Gemini did a good job and says like, oh, you removed the feature flag for this specific thing that I'm talking about here. So this is pretty meta, which is impressive. And then, so AMP then sees what Gemini extracted and says you removed this feature flag, which controls whether the read thread tool is enabled or not. And that means I think that a lot of stuff might change that this, coming back to what we talked about 45 minutes ago, like, hey, there's new things and we need to explore them. We don't yet know 100% whether and how they will work, but I think it's pretty cool. So you can now say, you can pick, let me pick another URL real quick. Sorry. If I go to amco.com/threads and I pick, say, here, I hope this is not something embarrassing.
While you look for that, this idea of getting the summary of a thread is just so powerful because probably most humans are not going to go read the thread. It's just too long. So it's like everything you want. You want to be able to mention the thread and actually get the important parts back. I love it.
So in this case, it's the same thing, right? So the original thread, so Camden, our colleague who has also been here on Build Crew before, I just saw his thread on amco.com. He's working on something, and I just asked my AMP, what is Camden asking about here? So it reads the thread, and then it tells Gemini, here's the thread, and now understand what Camden is asking about, extract the main question or problem he's trying to solve. And then it comes back, Gemini, with the exact quote. Use the librarian to find how VS Code handles blah, 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 the proxy settings. So he's looking into VS Code proxy settings. And this is obviously like a toy example, right? I can look at the thread and see what he's asking about. But think of all of the times where like you say, hey, look at this feature and explain to me how it works, right? And then you might forget about it, or you start a new thread. But that old thread now has a complete description of how a feature works. And instead of saying, please write this in a markdown file, and then I commit it to my code base, you can now say, look at this other thread to understand how this feature works, and then help me make the following change, right? So you can now reference and extract information from threads. You don't have to store them in markdown files. You don't have to store them somewhere else. You can use the thread as like a first-class entity, like a file or something else. And
so cool.
I think it's...
And you can rename the files, the threads now too, correct?
Yeah, you can give them better names. How did you find out about this? Oh, Quinn made a video. Yeah. This is 6 hours old, so I'm surprised. So yeah, you can rename them and give them better titles. You can now also start threads, so you might, if you want to bookmark other people's
this would
threads.
Be huge for the Oracle. Like if you run the Oracle on a code base to try to figure out a certain flow or feature, like you were saying, then you could just, instead of saving all that in markdowns, go back and pick it up.
Yeah, and I don't think if the Oracle already has it, I might add this after the call, but like. I'm just, again, like, I don't know exactly where this is going, but I'm excited by the idea of being able to reference past conversations and being able to extract information from them and without bloating the whole context window, right? So if you had a conversation with 100 messages, 90% context window, if you then reference this thread in a new conversation, you don't get the same 90% again because it only extracts information. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. So,
this makes me this makes me want to it's a step in the direction of what I've thought about doing a few times. What I've thought about doing is like, okay, you know what I should do is just pull all of Thorsten's threads and then sort of like train an agent on that and then be like, hey, can you attack this how Thorsten would attack it? And it just sort of pulls in your strategies and your back, and so you could, it's almost like a way of collaborating with other people on your team without having to bother them, so it's like, can you have Thorsten take a look at my code real fast? And then it's like, actually, Graham, you're doing this, dumb because you're dumb and I don't like you, all the stuff that I think you say about me in your head. And
that's
then it actually
wrote in the thread too.
So,
but no, it's,
but I think these are already meta things, like a super concrete thing, which is what actually Mitchell asked about this. You sometimes, so you want to keep threads small, right? So say you have 5 widgets, or recent example, I did this yesterday. We have 2 icons or 3 icons in one folder and they implement in a certain way. And I wanted to port it over to another library and then reference it. Easy thing, right? So I focused on one icon. If you then want to do it for another icon, you can use the same thread, or if you start a new thread, you can say, do what I did in the previous thread, but now do it for this other thing, right? So you can, it elevates the thread as an idea a little bit, so you don't have to keep doing the same thing in the same conversation, and then you realize, oh, I did 5 out of 10 of these renames or refactors. I need to store the context in a file, so I start a new thing. You can reference it and then keep building on top of it. But let's see, how far this goes.
And we could generalize this outside of AMP. If somebody wanted to do this, they could copy their whole session and just ask it to summarize. So like if you're not using AMP, you could still use this technique. It's just there's just a few extra steps. But I think OpenCode has a threads type feature, so you could do this probably pretty easily in OpenCode as well. So probably. Just to absolve you of your fear of being too AMP centric, this is a generalizable recommendation.
Yeah. And Colleen asked about it. She asked, does this mean I can stop asking for a summary of a thread when switching to a new chat? It depends. Like there's overlap. Like at the end of the day, most of the stuff in the agent is about context management. But we have this new feature since last week, handoff, which kind of does the summary at the end of a thread thing, but it gives you a new thread and puts a summary in. But if you are in the process of you are in one thread and you want to spawn a new thread with a summary, you can still do this, of course. But say it's 2 days later and you know that you want to reference this at a thread, but you don't want to open it first and then ask for a summary and then switch to a new thread. You can now say, give me a summary of this old thread and put the URL in or just the ID. And that should do the same thing.
Boom.
Everybody's speechless. Boom.
No, it's exciting. It's exciting to have threads as first-class citizens now. Like when you think about agents and how they'll be involved in code review and conversations moving forward, and then even agent-to-agent conversations. Like it's exciting to see
Yeah.
how that's going.
Cool. Well, we've got Ryan. I want to get you your tip.
Cool.
We can skip me, but you're
Let's
you
do
live
it.
and breathe this stuff. So let's go.
Okay, so I'm building a product. It's called Untangle. We have Theo, which is our AI divorce assistant, right? So clients go over here and they ask questions, and it's very, very important that we evaluate what Theo is saying for legal correctness, right? So I thought, oh, I'll sign up for Brain Trust, or there's a lot of these tools, right, that do evals, right? And I thought, okay, someone's already built this, cool. And, on Saturday morning, I spent look, it's like this neat stuff. I was like, oh, I want all this stuff. I want to rate perceived helpfulness and I want to see neat charts. And, and I spent like an hour trying to configure it. And basically, because I use AI SDK and I use AI Gateway to serve models and I'm on Vercel, it just didn't work. And I was like, ah. So I just went to AMP and I was like, okay, this is what I want. And I want to be able to evaluate a group of test prompts. Like this is not hard, right? So you go in here, and these are questions that we think our clients are going to ask Theo, right? I just popped this on in to show you, how do I serve divorce papers to my wife, for instance? Like, what is the right answer to that? So you have these prompts. Again, this is like not rocket science or going to shock anybody. And then you have batch runs, right? So then you choose, okay, I want to run these prompts, execute the batch run, and then you get a batch run. So then you go to runs, and here they are, right? So we have a chief legal officer, and it's very important that she checks and evals everything, right? So if you go in here, this is what you see. Now, there's a bunch of stuff on here, but a little bit about the run metadata, right? So the model is Gemini 2.5 Flash. It completed. Now this main chat system V1 prompt, like what is that? So the whole point of this is like, I think it's important for us to put our prompts and our tool descriptions as programmable, versionable units, right? And then test on those, right? Otherwise you're just like, I don't know what's going on or why. So you can see, this is where our chief legal officer will go in here and rate it for legal correctness, tone, helpfulness, and then here's the actual tool calls. So like legal research, verify statutes, etc. Now, all of that is based upon this idea of prompt versioning and tool description versioning, right? So let's go down here and look at, for instance, tool manage. This is a tool that manages memory that helps the agent remember things about you that are important. We're version 5 of this thing. And then if you look at, well, how's this been changing and what effect has this had in our evals? Let's actually go and quickly view this. And now I'm showing you all this because I want you to understand, like, probably as people building with agents, you're going to care about evals a lot, and you're going to care about versioning your prompts, et cetera, and then understanding what's happening with those. AMP and I built this, and this has taken me probably 2 days of work, right? And I didn't need this fancy, over-featured product. I just needed to build something simple for myself. And now I can see exactly what's happening. So what is the difference between version 4 and 5 of this tool description, right? Simple diff view. The point of all this is again, not talk about Untangle or me or this specific use case. The idea is there's a lot of tooling that you need to measure what you're building, and it's probable that you can spin up your agent, whether it's AMP or something else, build exactly what you need, understand it, and then deploy it. And I'm very, very happy with this. I understand it. I understand the database schema. I understand how it works and why it works. And it's now over featured. So
Nice.
I've been enjoying
this. This reminds me, there was a tweet about some private equity firm was evaluating this like medical billing company or something to purchase. And they had some of their interns use AI to build a competitor to the product they were evaluating buying.
that.
And then they brought it into a few clinics, and the clinics all reported that it was better than the tool that the private equity company was considering buying. And so they didn't go through with the deal.
Interesting.
And it's like, it feels like if you can crack whatever distribution, whatever product some company has, or just someone on your team goes, no, actually it's better that we can just build that internally now. It really does. I feel like 3 weeks ago, my thing was that like SaaS isn't dead. And now I'm here back. I'm like, actually SaaS is dead again. So it's
change your mind.
Maybe. Yeah. Change your mind again. Yeah. That's so cool. I love I used to not be a roll your own guy. And now I'm like heavily on this roll your own train. Cause generic tools are generic, and you have this one need, and somebody's going to come out with some better thing. Some company's going to compete with Brain Trust and have some better way to do it. And then you can just read up on that and add that to your version of the tool, and it's done. And you don't have a SaaS subscription. You know what I mean? Like what's cheaper, 2 days of your development time or a new SaaS subscription that someone has to understand and manage and learn the docs for and all that stuff.
And then you have to have ETLs, and then you have to, it's a nightmare. And I'm like, nope, if the data's in my database and I know exactly what's going on,
Yeah.
Done.
No SOC 2 compliance, unless like you already are, because it's already all internal. And yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Oh, Ryan fell down.
Yeah. Help. He was
down.
His agent cut him down at the knees. His agent. Well, we're at time, and we've had too much fun today, and I think, Brian, that's entirely as a result of you being here. So I really appreciate you joining. It was really fun. We get to hear your daily updates, but to like see the full scope of it, it's so cool to see what you're building. And I think if you ever say that you're not an engineer again, we have to just kick you out of Build Crew. I'm sorry to say. But Thorsten,
thank you. Real quick, thank you guys for having me on. Like I said before we started, in what world is a flooring rep supposed to be on a podcast with Thorsten Bell, right? I mean, come on, man.
You earned it.
But I did have a coding tip I do want to say real quick.
Oh, please.
Really a coding tip, because I feel like I'm representing the non-tech people here. So anybody that's listening, just find your tribe, right? Find some people that you can talk to, like Build Crew, and you can learn from, because the door is wide open right now, man. I mean, you can learn whatever you want to learn. And like y'all were just talking about building your own tools. I mean, I did it. Like I shouldn't have been able to do it, but I did it, right? So
yeah.
So you can just do stuff now. So go do stuff.
That phrase becomes truer every day, and it's a good place to end. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Thorsten. Thank you, Ryan, producer who's not on the screen, but we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.